first video you're watching, you should know that I live in New York City, so there are sometimes you'll hear cars in the background and rowdy horns and aggressive behavior wafting into our ASMR session. So, apologies. So I intend this channel to be about vinyl. Pretty simple. I will kind of tend to focus on the era where vinyl was actually used as a primary source of music listening in people's homes. So, probably a lot of stuff from the 60s, 70s, and 80s, but more than just every once in a while, I'm definitely going to divert from that and have whatever I can from the 90s and beyond. And even definitely new releases. So, on to the first. And what I have before me is what I think a lot of people will recognize as Pink Floyd's The Wall. So I have to adjust it. So, this is definitely one of my favorite albums of all time, and was recently gifted to me this Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, by my girlfriend, my beautiful, lovely girlfriend, my partner. A first issue of The Wall. And as plain as the cover of the album may seem, anybody who knows the album knows that inside the songs and themes covered by the band carries a lot of meaning. So let's rescue it from this faulty cellophane wrapper. Although I do like the sticker here. Nothing like a good braggadocious sticker. So I'm gonna find out a way to preserve that. But it's ripped. So let's replace that. Let's say goodbye to that cellophane. There's a lot that has been said and documented about this piece of music. So I don't think I'm gonna add anything new to the conversation with this video, but let's celebrate it. And we're upside down. Hard to tell with a blank surface. Okay, here we go. So, The Wall was released in 1979 and is one of the best, I believe, concept albums of all time. We're following the character Pink throughout the album, who is sort of amalgamation of Roger Waters, the lead bassist and sort of brainchild of the band, and Syd Barrett, who used to be a founding member. It was part of the first album, and one song on the second album. So what I saw was the person who did the art. These beautiful images that would later inspire the film. Was Gerald Scarfe, or Scarf. Not certain of the pronunciation. But you can't think of the album without thinking of the art, because the concept is so connected to the film that came later. So, I like these, so I think we'll keep them as an album cover. Okay. So, the idea of the album is sort of exploring ideas of disillusionment and isolation of a rock star, and abandonment in childhood. It's about his father leaving and dying in World War II, and things that Syd Barrett was dealing with, and even David Gilmour, who was going through a divorce at the time. Had a lot to do with this creatively, and added a lot to those themes. Sorry for the siren here. So apparently a lot of the executives tried to shrink the rights to Roger Waters, because all the rights owed to him from the album, because the album turned out to be a double album, which was a problem for the executives. And they had wanted to settle the argument by a toss of the dime. And Waters eventually was like, I don't have to gamble for what's mine. And eventually he got his way. And his money. I know Roger Waters is considered a little controversial now, but I think his music and the music of Pink Floyd is beautiful. On this side is In the Flesh, the 10 Happiest Days of Our Lives, Another Brick in the Wall Part 2 were big singles, and so was Mother. I grew up with those songs on the classic rock station. Side 2, we have Goodbye Blue Sky, Empty Spaces, Young Lust, One of These Days. Don't Leave Me Now. Took me a while I couldn't read it, and it took me a while to remember. Another Brick in the Wall Part 3, and Goodbye Cruel World. You would think that's the end, but it's not. I mean, Empty Spaces and Young Lust. One of These Days is actually one of my personal favorites. Are all these your guitars? After the album was released, they made a spectacle tour. It toured a few cities for the release. New York and Los Angeles, of course. I think it's worth mentioning the names of the band, which, as we mentioned before, Roger Waters and David Gilmour, Nick Mason, Richard Wright, producer Bob Ezrin had a lot to do with this. Of course, David Gilmour, Roger Waters as producers. Looks like we have a lot of competition audio-wise. The perks of living in the city. Not the best for ASMR videos. Hopefully next time be quieter, folks. Anyway, on this side we got Hey You, big hit. Is There Anybody Out There, which is sort of a theme throughout the whole album. Nobody Home, Vera, which is a beautiful song on piano. Bring the Boys Back Home, and like an army song, sort of the World War II side of the album. Comfortably Numb. It has to do with sort of like the detachment he's feeling. Sort of this feeling, bad feeling at the time against the fans after years of touring. So their first album, I think, dropped in like 69 or 68, and this was 80, so they had already been out there. The show must go on, In the Flesh, Run Like Hell, another single, Waiting for the Worms, Stop, The Trial, which is an epic song, and Outside the Wall. And of course, was directed by Alan Parker. I know he later went on to direct Angela's Ashes, another pretty cool movie, but quite different from The Wall. The Wall was introduced to me by actually I think my first girlfriend, who soon dumped me afterwards. It's a great breakup album. I got to know this album like the back of my hand over the years. I finally saw Roger Waters performing at Yankee Stadium in 2012. Beautiful experience. '79. Timeless stuff. Thanks for watching.